At my son's wedding, his bride smashed my face into the cake and laughed, calling me a beggar. I didn't scream. I wiped the frosting from my cheek and looked her straight in the eye. I walked off that stage and straight into the truth they never saw coming. The real story was only beginning. The Whitmore estate shimmered in soft gold light when I arrived. Spanish moss hung like lace from the oak trees, and the river air carried a hint of salt and honeysuckle. The guests were already sipping champagne, their laughter blending with the jazz band's mellow swing. "How y'all doing tonight?" Someone greeted me near the bar. I smiled politely, adjusting my shawl. My son, Dorian, spotted me from across the crowd, his jaw tight but polite. "Mama, please, just enjoy tonight," he said, touching my arm before drifting back to his bride. Vesper Lane, now my daughter-in-law, floated through the tent in ivory silk, giving orders with a smile that never reached her eyes. She thanked the florist, corrected the photographer, and tilted her chin toward me as if assessing inventory. I recognized that look from boardrooms, charm as weapon. I reminded myself that I came to bless my son's new beginning, not to wrestle with the woman steering it. When I found my seat, I noticed my name card misspelled, Marlena, and placed by the restroom corridor under a sign that read, "Vendors Overflow." My friend Loretta gave a small gasp, squeezing my hand. "You okay, baby?" I nodded. "I'm fine. Sugar." Just a little breeze of misplacement. A young server apologized, saying, "We were told you preferred a quiet corner." I smiled, the kind that hides teeth. I caught Pastor Leon's reassuring nod from across the room. His presence reminded me there was still a moral center here somewhere. I inhaled the scent of vanilla and buttercream from the towering cake and told myself, no reaction, just record. My years in business taught me silence can sting louder than protest. The MC clapped his hands, calling for one playful moment for our modern couple. The crowd turned. The cameras shifted. Vesper giggled as she looped her arm through Dorian's. "Let's make it sweet," she chirped. Something about her tone raised the tiny hairs at the back of my neck. I stepped closer, meaning to compliment the sugar roses. Before I could speak, Vesper seized my wrist. "You deserve the first taste, Marlena." Her voice dripped honey, but the next moment she shoved my face straight into the cake. Gasps, laughter, the click of phones, cold frosting smeared across my skin, sweet and greasy. "Try some dessert, beggar," she sang. For a heartbeat, even the band stopped. I didn't flinch. I reached for a linen napkin and dabbed my cheek, slow and measured. Around me, laughter rippled, first polite, then wild. Maris, one of the bridesmaids, filmed it, her grin bright as a headline. Dorian stood frozen, halfway between me and his bride, his mouth open but no words forming. I met Vesper's eyes. "Just having fun, right?" she said, her smirk daring me to rise. I stood taller instead. "Of course," I replied. My voice was calm. Even, every good show needs a little frosting. A few nearby guests chuckled uncertainly, unsure whether to join in or look away. I heard someone whisper, "She's taking it so well." They had no idea. Loretta appeared at my elbow, pressing a bottle of sparkling water into my hand. "Breathe," she whispered. I did, counting to 5 like I taught myself in every board meeting where men spoke over me. Buttercream on my dress, but my spine unbroken. I found Dorian outside by the hydrangeas. "Son," I said quietly, "that wasn't a prank, and that was a message." He rubbed his neck, eyes darting. "Please, Mama, don't blow this up tonight." I looked at him, my only child, still learning what manhood meant. "Respect," I said, "isn't negotiable, not from family." Pastor Leon passed behind us, murmuring a verse. "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and the clear-headed. It steadied me more than champagne ever could. I returned to the tent, chin lifted, the music swelling again as though nothing had happened. Then, as the band struck a swing note, a sharp voice sliced through the air. "Hold up, she's a billionaire!" Gasps, phones raised, necks craning. Vesper's smile faltered. Dorian turned toward me, bewildered. The laughter died into a vacuum of curiosity. I didn't say a word. I simply counted to 3 and let silence hang like a chandelier ready to fall. If they wanted a story, they'd get it, but not tonight. The moment someone yelled, "She's a billionaire!" the air split in two, those who gasped and those who froze. I stood still, frosting, drying on my cheek. A few older women near the buffet muttered, "Now wait just a minute," while others whispered like cicadas in heat. I caught Vesper's PR smile falter. Dorian's eyes darted between me and her, like he'd just realized the woman he married didn't have a monopoly on secrets. Althea Knox, the journalist guest, was already angling her phone, reading faces like headlines. I didn't move. Silence was my armor, and I let etiquette grind itself to dust around me. I turned toward the seating board, that ridiculous gold frame glowing under the tent lights. My name, still misspelled, sat at the bottom near the vendor overflow. I touched the tag gently, not to fix it, but to remember. A bank VP I'd met before showed me a photo on his phone. Earlier, the screen had listed me as vendor. Time-stamped. Proof. Maris Weller chirped, "Glitch! Ms. Givens!" But the planner's expression told the truth. There was no glitch. I asked to see their setup notes, and the coordinator hesitated before handing them over. There it was. Mother of groom prefers quiet corner. Signed off by V. Lane Team. I smiled faintly. "That's not a mistake," I said. "That's handwriting with intention." Vesper glided over, that saccharine tone dripping again. "Marlena, you always say you like less fuss." I turned to her. Calm as evening tea. I said I like respect. Her eyes flickered like someone tasting lemon for the first time. Then came the guard. A tall young man, hat in hand. Voice uneasy. "Ma'am, I was told to swap your wristband for a yellow one. Staff access only, per the bride's instruction." I took the band from his palm, examined it, then asked, "And who told you that?" He pointed to Maris, who pointed to the planner, who suddenly looked ready to quit. "I'll pass," I said softly. "But thank you for doing your job." The coordinator handed me the master list. There I was, listed VIP, mother of the groom. I snapped a picture of everything, the wristband, the staff note, the name tags. Receipts were cleaner than rage. Loretta brushed my arm. "You good?" she whispered. "Better than they think," I murmured back. A few minutes later, Dorian appeared behind the tent, tension in his shoulders. "Mama, please apologize so we can move on." His voice cracked like a boy's. "Public disrespect," I told him. "Deserves public repair. I won't play peace for a picture." He exhaled hard. "She's nervous. Everyone's watching." "They watched when she pushed my face in a cake," I replied. "If she can humiliate me on stage, she can apologize on it too." He didn't answer, just rubbed his temple, torn between blood and marriage. Pastor Leon passed by, low-voiced. "A man protects dignity before decor." My son looked away. Back inside, the chatter swelled again, meaner this time. I caught snatches. "She's dramatic. It's just money." But across the tent, allies moved. Loretta gathered older guests, women who'd raised sons too. Harlan, near the tech booth, muttered. "We can light up that reel whenever you say," Althea whispered. Your name was on the donor slide they cut. I nodded. Timing was everything. Then Vesper made her grand return, sweeping across the room, hugging me tight for the cameras. "We're all family," she sang, perfume choking the air. I stood rigid. "Call off whoever shouted that," she hissed in my ear. "You're making this ugly." "Ugly," I said softly. "Started with your hand on my face." Her grip tightened, then loosened. She turned toward the DJ. The music blared, drowning whispers, but not conscience. That's when the projector flickered. The first slide appeared, Community Restoration Donors. Photos of the riverfront rebuild, the after-school kitchen, and, at the bottom corner, Marlena Givens Charitable Trust. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Vesper's smile cracked. Maris lunged for the tech table too late. I let 3 slides roll, then raised my hand. The light froze on my name. I stepped to the mic the DJ forgot to mute. "We can tell the truth in 2 ways," I said evenly, voice low but clear. "Messy or merciful? Bride's choice." The silence that followed was heavier than shame. Dorian looked between us, torn and trembling. Pastor Leon closed his eyes. I lowered the mic 1 inch, met Vesper's stare, and asked, "So?" I stood at the mic, steady as marble, eyes fixed on Vesper. "One apology into this mic, or we finish the reel," I repeated. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. Phones lifted again like metal to a magnet. The crowd's noise fell to a nervous hum. Vesper's smile looked painted on with panic underneath. She turned toward Dorian, searching for rescue, then back at the DJ as if sound could save her. "We're all family tonight," she began, but the words slipped like oil. I said nothing. I just waited. In the South, silence is pressure, the kind that makes people show you who they really are. Then she flicked her fingers toward the DJ. A shriek of feedback split the air, and my mic went dead. Music blared, trying to wash the moment away. Vesper raised her glass, mouthing a sorry for the cameras, a pantomime apology for her highlight reel. I moved to the lectern, tried the house mic. Nothing. She'd planned this, but Althea at the AV booth gave me a quick signal, pointing to a live ambient boom still hot. I leaned toward it and said, "Calm as prayer." That was a choice. The words rippled through the speakers. A low, collective hum rose, older women murmuring, "Mm-hmm." That sound meant they understood. I raised my hand, quieting the room again without force. At table 4, one aunt shook her head. "No home training," she whispered. Another man muttered, "You don't disrespect a mother." The air shifted. The audience no longer belonged to her. Dorian's face darkened, torn between guilt and embarrassment. Loretta gave me a nod from the edge, telling me I'd done enough. I looked straight into the boom mic. "Dignity can't be edited in post," I said. A few people gasped, others clapped softly. Even the band stopped pretending to play. Then 2 security guards approached, hats off, polite but nervous. "Ma'am, we were told to escort you to the lounge to rest," one said. "By whom?" I asked. They exchanged looks. "The bride's team," he admitted. I pulled out the event contract and pointed. "Mother of the groom, VIP, all access." The guard read it and stepped back. Across the tent, Vesper hissed, "Get her out of the background!" Not realizing her voice carried through the very mic she'd failed to cut. The crowd reacted like church folk hearing blasphemy. Pastor Leon walked forward, slow but solid. "Gentlemen," he said to the guards, "the only person leaving this room ashamed tonight isn't her." They retreated without another word. Dorian came close, eyes pleading. Mama, please, let's just move on. It got worse when your wife silenced the mic instead of saying sorry. I said it, Vesper snapped. You mimed it to a lens. Child, try your voice next time. Or I breathed in slow, giving her one last door out. Apologize on mic and fix the seating, the wristband, and we'll eat cake together. Simple as that. She turned her head, refusing to look at me. Dorian said nothing. Silence again. This time his choice. I turned toward Althea and Harlan, nodding once. The projector hummed to life. Community restoration donors appeared on the screen. Slide 1, the riverfront rebuild. Slide 2, the after-school kitchen program. Slide 3, Marlena Givens Charitable Trust. People leaned in. The truth didn't shout, it glowed. Vesper lunged toward the tech booth, but Harlan blocked her path like a wall of oak. I fund futures, not feuds, I said, my voice steady. The phrase hung in the air, soft but cutting. I looked at her again. No anger left, only truth. Last ask, apology now, or we widen the lens. She gave a dry laugh. Do it. Dorian whispered her name, but even he knew the fuse was lit. I nodded to Althea. The next segment of the reel began, the one Vesper never previewed. The projector clicked once. The room held its breath. The projector clicked again, light cutting through the garden tent. Althea cued a title slide. Event logistics, source, venue packet. My voice carried through the ambient mic, calm but cold. We're just clearing up process, not swinging pitchforks. The room went still, except for the rustle of linen and the shuffle of shoes. Harlan dimmed the sidelights so every word on that screen looked like daylight on stone. Vesper froze near the DJ booth. Her perfect posture started to bend at the edges. I didn't rush the slides. Let the truth take its time. Truth always has better aim when you let it breathe. The next image flashed, a scanned contract page. My own name underlined in red. Mother of groom, VIP roaming, mic access for blessing, table placement within first 3 rows. The guard from earlier shifted, nodding at the clause like it was scripture. Another line glowed in yellow. Venue indemnity for targeted humiliation. Someone in the back whispered, well, Lord have mercy. I almost smiled. I didn't gloat, but I let my words land steady. Seems the paperwork remembered my place even when some folks didn't. Dorian looked at the screen, then at his shoes. Every clause was a mirror he didn't want to see himself in. Althea brought up the email thread next. Subject, minimize MOG visibility. Names blurred for privacy, but the timestamps didn't lie. It matched the hour my name was shoved to the back corridor. Vesper stepped forward, hissing. That's not final, Althea clicked again, revealing the header. Final, approved by Lane, 7:05 p.m. The crowd murmured. Pastor Leon whispered just loud enough to be heard. Truth is a disinfectant. I caught Vesper's eyes and saw the first flicker of fear. She wasn't used to losing the room. I turned from the screen to face the guests. We can still have a wedding, I said softly. Weddings heal when people tell the truth. Heads nodded. Someone near the front clapped once. Just once, like a gavel. I didn't chase applause. I looked to Dorian. All that's ever been asked is simple. Public apology. Correct the seating. Restore what you took, and we'll celebrate together. Even the DJ reached to lower his volume. He understood the current. Dorian whispered, Vase, we can fix this. She didn't answer. Maris muttered, we can bury this online later. Her voice, brittle and clueless, made half the crowd turn away. The venue manager stepped in. Palms up. We propose a brief microphone apology, then move to the toasts. I nodded once. That's the offer. I said. "No woman should beg for her own dignity." The man swallowed, turned to Vesper, but she was frozen. I looked at my son. "You don't have to choose her over me, Dorian. Just choose right over wrong." His throat tightened. The silence after that was a verdict. I could have let it hurt. But hurt wasn't the goal. Justice was... I lifted the house mic. "This is my final ask for grace," when I said, pointing to the contract slide. "If declined, the record stands." Vesper's chin rose like a blade. "Declined," she said. One syllable, heavy as stone. I nodded to Althea. She archived the screen, proof secured. My voice didn't tremble. Then the real becomes evidence. The room didn't gasp this time. It exhaled. They knew the game had changed. The planner stammered an announcement. "Seating corrections per contract will begin immediately." My card was moved to table 1. I didn't sit. Pastor Leon prayed quietly for humility, his tone a balm. I told Althea, "Hold the next reel until I say..." My phone buzzed. Loretta. Elders hydrated. All calm. We were professionals in grace. The DJ, thus desperate, played a slow love song. Vesper stepped onto the dance floor alone, smiling for cameras that no longer smiled back. Dorian followed, because habit is hard to kill. They moved stiffly, bodies touching, but miles apart. Mid-turn, she glanced at me and mouthed, "Try me." I lifted the mic and said, calm as paper on fire, "Slide 12. The projector flared. New header. Financial disclosures. Event underwriter. The guests leaned forward. The light hit her face like truth always does. "Let's talk about who paid for this night." The ledger glowed against the white tent canvas, every line clean and unforgiving. Payments flowed from the Givens Family Foundation, not my son's pocket. Venue rental, catering, AV deposit, gratuity pool, it was all there. I kept my voice even. Transparency protects everyone. The crowd shifted from gossip to quiet comprehension. The venue manager confirmed through the mic, "All invoices prepaid, no funds withheld." The whisper of vindication moved through the tables. Dorian looked at me, something soft flickering in his eyes. For the first time that night, he knew I hadn't come to destroy, only to defend what should have been sacred. Vesper didn't meet his eyes. She scanned the guests like a politician after a bad poll. I closed the segment with a single truth. The money ended here. What matters now is how respect begins. For a second, silence held the night. Then Maris Weller broke it, her ring light blazing like an accusation. "Live from Savannah," she chirped, voice sugar and venom. "The mother of the groom hijacks her son's wedding, bullies staff, crashes her own party." Within seconds, the comments poured in. But the audience wasn't buying it this time. "Lady, we saw the video." One typed, "She got assaulted first." Another, "Screens don't lie." The Auntie Brigade rose without cue. They leaned toward Maris's phone, calm but cutting. "Tell them don't play in our faces, baby." It hit the internet like gospel. Althea was already logging timestamps, screenshots, chat feeds, receipts, layered on receipts. I didn't look at Maris. I looked at the room. "Please, enjoy your meals. Water first for our elders." My restraint worked like a mirror. Everyone could see who was losing control. The planners silenced Maris, and the young guests started muting their own streams. Lies are allergic to daylight. Then came the men in black suits, 2 of them, broad, uninvited, wearing earpieces. Vesper gave a subtle thumb jerk toward me. I didn't move. The venue manager intercepted fast. "Gentlemen, you're not on our roster." She showed them the contract clause on her tablet. VIP protection under my name. I added, "You're on private property, and that property's agent is standing right there." The taller one froze. Harlan's radio crackled. Deputy en route. Dorian's voice cracked through the tension. Vess, stop. But she doubled down, shrill and small. Escort her to the parking lot, the manager replied, cool as marble. Any touch activates a report and event shutdown. The guards backed off. Vesper's face flushed red against the camera lights. A few minutes later, she reappeared with a glossy folder. Sign this, and we'll refund your donation, she said. The NDA, pages of silence, clause hidden in legal ink, lifetime gag, family exclusion, no appeal. I read it once and smiled. An NDA is not an apology. Then I laid my counteroffer on the table, a retraction and non-defamation agreement, limited scope, clean language, public apology required, no money, just restoration. The pastor nodded from his seat, murmuring, "That's how grown folks handle harm." Vesper's voice trembled. "I don't sign things under pressure." I met her eyes. "You sign them under light. It's safer." While she stalled, I turned to my real priority. "Loretta," I called softly. "Move our elders near the heaters." The oldest women smiled in relief as servers brought water and small plates. Dorian approached. Quiet. "Mama, I want that dance," he said. I answered, "Then get that apology. It's not ransom, it's repair." He nodded, torn in two directions. But the good part of him was listening. Maris lunged toward the AV cart, yanking the HDMI cord. The screen flickered, then stabilized. Harlan had already switched to wireless backup. Competence is the best clap back. I whispered to Althea, then, stepping to the mic, I said clearly, 10-minute reset, either an apology and a dance, or we close with gratitude and move on. The audience applauded, not loud, but sure. The venue team dimmed the lights. Blue strobes flashed beyond the tent. A sheriff's deputy entered, hand near, not on, his holster. "We got a trespass call." The manager lifted a folder. "Deputy, the complainant's breaching contract." I turned, calm as morning coffee. "Sir," I said, sliding a copy across the table. "Would you like to see whose signature is on the permit?" He nodded and stepped closer. Vesper's hand flew to her mouth. "Deputy," I said, steady as scripture. "This is my event, by contract and by payment. How would you like to proceed?" The deputy's flashlight cut through the tent like a scalpel. "Ma'am, ID, please." I slid my license across the table. Steady hands. The venue manager followed with the master contract. Harlan tapped his tablet, showing signature logs with timestamps. The deputy scanned everything, nodding once. "You said this is your event?" "Yeah, sir," I replied. "You're looking for whoever called in that trespass. That person is breaching this contract." He radioed dispatch, voice calm but clipped. The report traced back to a private phone, Maris Weller's. You could feel the air tighten. The guests froze, watching this not as gossip but as procedure. Vesper's glance toward Maris was too quick, too obvious. The deputy caught it, said nothing, but the silence carried weight. I met his eyes. "We prefer a soft landing. Deputy. Document first, move second." Althea stepped up, composed as a courtroom clerk, holding a slim folio. "Deputy," she said, "this is a cease and desist with evidence of a false report and social defamation." She laid out screenshots of Maris's live stream, the emails ordering my seating demotion, the coordination chain between Vesper's assistant and the planner. Her voice never rose above polite. The deputy flipped through the pages, unimpressed but methodical. "Here's what's going to happen," he said. "Option 1, stand down and correct the record. Option 2, leave voluntarily. Option 3, I document you for disturbance and false reporting." Maris puffed up. "Free speech!" Althea's reply landed like a gavel. Not on private property, not when you monetize lies. Vesper tried to hand the deputy her NDA folder. He frowned. Ma'am, don't hand me civil paperwork to fix your bad night. I put both hands on the table. No one's going to jail tonight. We're going to tell the truth, apologize, and let these elders eat their food while it's still warm. Dar, the venue manager, bless her backbone, read aloud from the decorum clause. Any guest instigating harassment is subject to removal, no exceptions. Dorian turned to Vesper, quiet but firm. Please, 30 seconds. It was the first time he sounded like his father, Vesper muttered. She's buying the sheriff. The deputy straightened. Ma'am, I work for the county, not the highest bidder. Pastor Leon's voice broke the tension. Let's take a minute of silence for wisdom. The crowd obeyed. You could hear night insects humming beyond the canvas. When the deputy nodded, Althea placed a small retraction card on the music stand. 5 lines. Factual, merciful. Read this, and the matter closes. Vesper took the mic, hands trembling. If anyone felt offended, Pastor Leon stopped her gently. Please read the card, child. She tore it in half. The gasp rippled like thunder. I stepped forward. Then I'll read it for the record. The room went silent again. Harlan brought the projector alive. On the screen appeared a single clause from the operating agreement. Whitmore Estate Events, LLC. Control Party, Givens Legacy Trust. My name below it. I read aloud, calm and sharp. The control party may reassign or revoke facility access to protect guests and staff. The deputy smiled faintly. Makes my job easier. I turned to the manager. Revoke influencer access. Keep family. Seat our elders. Harlan tapped his console. The yellow wristbands blinked red. Maris's crew locked out of the vendor corridor. I turned to Vesper, still holding the mic. You can have your first dance after an apology. It's not punishment. It's repair. Dorian reached for her hand. Ves, please. She pulled away, not apologizing to a liar. The crowd shifted, uneasy. I exhaled, then addressed the room. Kitchen. Serve. Band. Keep it soft. Pastor Leon thanked the staff first, and the tension bled out. The deputy leaned toward Maris, explaining the penalty for a false report. She went pale. I moved through the tables, checking plates, touching shoulders, small smiles returning. Integrity has room for you when you're ready, I told my son quietly. He nodded, eyes wet, across the tent. Vesper whispered about spin to a shrinking circle. Althea hit send on an email, evidence packets to every vendor. Just as the band began At Last, a courier stepped in from the cold night, holding a flat envelope. Marlena Givens, I took it. Glanced at the seal, Superior Court of Chatham County. Lane v. Givens, temporary restraining order. I handed it to Althea. She scanned it, eyes flashing. Filed too fast, too sloppy. I smiled. If they want daylight, we'll meet them there, with receipts. Savannah was quiet that Sunday morning, the streets still damp from night air. I walked up the courthouse steps with a thermos in one hand and my binder of receipts in the other. Althea kept pace beside me, crisp and focused, while Harlan carried the drive case like it was gold. Plain fact, plain tone, Althea reminded me. Let process do the heavy lifting. I nodded. We're not here to win the internet. We're here to tell the truth. Dorian's text buzzed. I'm sorry. Mom, I didn't see everything last night. My reply was short. Choose truth in the room. Pastor Leon met us under the rotunda with a warm nod, and Loretta checked that everyone had copies and water. The marble floor echoed with quiet steps. No noise, no chaos, just purpose. Inside. The judge wanted it tight. questions of safety, speech, and property control. Althea moved like a surgeon, permit, insurance, and the event operating agreement naming the Givens Legacy Trust. She explained that every measure was followed, and the decorum clause gave us the right to act when harassment occurred. Opposing counsel called it retaliation, but Althea's voice stayed steady. We responded to harm, not to noise. The judge leaned back, unimpressed by theatrics. "Looks like a civil management issue wrapped in family drama," he said, refusing the broad injunction. When the certified copies were entered, I exhaled. Truth had paperwork today. Next came the digital audit. Harlan rolled the projector cart forward, showing graphs, timestamps, and a breakdown of the monetized live stream. "This is the feed," he said, geo-tagged from inside the tent, running 73 minutes, earning $587 in tips. The screen displayed captions, "Mother of groom crashes wedding." I watched the numbers speak louder than anger. Althea tied it neatly. Monetized humiliation, commercial speech on private property. The gallery murmured. The judge noted it for relevance. I told him quietly, "We're not asking for pity, Your Honor. Just recognition that truth doesn't trend. But it matters." Then came the whistleblower's affidavit. A vendor tech had supplied a WhatsApp thread where someone wrote, "Cue the cake shove for the cameras." Another email read, "Make sure lighting hits the frosting at 9:40. The courtroom felt smaller after that. Opposing counsel mumbled about a joke gone wrong. Althea's calm stayed surgical. A prank becomes malice when it's planned and filmed. The judge's pen tapped once, and I caught the look. He knew. When Deaconess Ruth's statement was read, the hush turned reverent. She had witnessed everything, from the cake to the slur. "A wedding that cannot honor its elders," she said, "isn't ready for vows." The courtroom didn't clap. It just breathed. Pastor Leon bowed his head. Even the stenographer paused for a second before resuming. I felt something inside me settle, not triumph, but balance. The judge's ruling came short and clear. No restraining order, only a mutual conduct rule. No false reports, no harassment, no online taunting. Outside, cameras waited. Althea spoke first. "We thank the court for its clarity." Reporters called out, "Are you really a billionaire?" I smiled. "I'm a mother who reads her contracts. That's enough." Then came the fallout. Vesper's phone pinged. Brand partnership paused pending review. Her smile froze. Dorian looked lost between two truths. He asked, "How do I fix this?" I told him. "Start with honesty. Paperwork can wait." In the church foyer afterward, he turned to her. "You planned it? Ves, you made the call." She blamed the algorithm, the planner. Anyone but herself. I didn't argue. "You can choose repair, written apology, restitution, truth, or we'll proceed legally. Your call." Pastor Leon placed a hand on my shoulder. Sometimes light hurts before it heals. As we left, a process server stepped up, handing Vesper an envelope. "Service of process, defamation and conspiracy." She signed, trembling. At that same moment, Althea's phone buzzed. The prenup rider had surfaced. A quiet clause Dorian had added months ago. If either party defamed immediate family, the marital property froze. Althea's eyes widened. "This changes everything." Dorian's voice came low, resolute. "If we're telling the truth now," he said, "we should tell it all." By the time evening came, the sun had turned Savannah gold. I set 3 stacks of paper on my kitchen table. Apology terms, takedown list, prenup rider. My house smelled of lemon cleaner and quiet. Dorian sat across from me, shoulders slumped, reading every page twice. "We fix harm before we fix optics," I said, pouring tea instead of preaching. We spoke like adults fixing a leak, not grieving a flood. Bills, access codes, passwords. I told him no midnight calls, no whispers through friends. Everything goes through counsel or Pastor Leon? He nodded. I reminded him tomorrow's filings would move forward, no matter how tonight ended. Action isn't about anger, son. It's about order. His silence wasn't defiance. It was acceptance finding shape. When Althea arrived, she read the prenup rider aloud, each word like a gavel. Defamation of immediate family triggers, community property carve-out. Deadline, 72 hours, apology, removal, restitution, or it locks. Dorian reached for a pen. Hands steady now. Marriage can be saved, I said, but character must be chosen. He signed the consent notice. Althea hit send on the email to Vesper's lawyer with read receipt, courier on standby. Harlan pulled up his data tombstone spreadsheet, URLs, mirrors, hashtags, all headed for deletion. I watched the list scroll like an obituary for bad choices. Next came the trust reset. I logged in and changed codes for the estate, storage, and venue suite. No drama, just maintenance. Loretta texted confirmation. HOA badges for Vesper's crew revoked. That's done, she wrote, adding a heart emoji. Insurance emails came through. Claims approved. Checks issued to me as the named insured. I typed back a note to the venue manager. Thank you for protecting your staff. I'll cover therapy stipends. Pastor Leon messaged that the elders were gathering to pray, not for punishment, but peace. Boundaries. I've learned. Don't shout. They hum. Harlan opened his laptop again. Here's the proof, he said, sliding forward the insurer's email chain. There was my name in the payee field, stamped and verified. Another alert flashed. Brands withdrawing from Vesper's accounts. Paper tells on folks, I said softly. The same way my mama used to when neighbors tried to spin stories thinner than a dollar bill. No one cheered. We just exhaled. At 7, we met Vesper and her lawyer in the church hall's live stream corner. Neutral ground, neutral light. I stated the terms, apology tonight, takedown within 24 hours, restitution to staff and elders, 1 year no contact, therapy affidavit. I added one clause. I'd match her restitution for a women's scholarship under her maiden name. Grace with a cost, Althea called it. Vesper hesitated. Her lawyer frowned. Dorian's voice cut through. We said truth. She looked up, defeated but ready. Fine, she whispered. The camera went live at 8:02. I sat off frame, Althea monitoring every word. Vesper's voice trembled as she read, admitting the staging, the live stream, the insult. She apologized to the elders, staff, and me. Then she tapped publish on global takedowns. On Harlan's screen, the viral count plummeted. I stepped in for one line. Accountability isn't ruin, it's repair. Pastor Leon closed with, may our yes be yes. Papers signed. Clock stopped. Later. I walked Dorian to the door. Separate apartments, he said quietly. For a while, I hugged him anyway. Growth needs space, I replied. I wired the scholarship funds before bed. Deaconess. Ruth dropped off a pound cake, irony sweet as peace. When everyone left, I mopped the kitchen floor myself. Money doesn't excuse you from your own cleanup. I slept with the window cracked open to the quiet night air, my soul balanced, my phone off. At sunrise, Dorian's text blinked. Therapy booked. Coffee tomorrow? Another email pinged, a reporter asking to feature the scholarship story, not the scandal. I smiled, typing slowly. The best revenge isn't loud. It's building something they can't tear down. The next morning, a letter slid under my door. No return address, just my name written in Vesper's shaky hand. Inside was one line. You didn't read all the clauses. My coffee went cold as I reached for the trust binder again. What had I missed this time?